I think the beginning starts as a kid in my bedroom, right? Like a lot of radio people, that kind of almost typical story. And I didn't really build my own radio station. I did record the radio, like on my tape deck. So when
Mm.
they got on and talked, and it was like some of the music because my parents wouldn't let me listen to like hip hop or like R&B or whatever. So I would press record and play at the same time on the tape deck and record
Yes.
radio segments and stuff like that. And all of it's kind of coming rushing back now, like who all the people I listen to. But growing up in Maryland, like right outside of DC, there's a lot of radio legends that have been on there or have come through there. So that's what I was listening to. That's what I grew up on. A lot of those legends and listen to them on the radio. And it wasn't like I want to be on the radio one day. It was that sounds like so much fun. You know
Mm.
what I mean? I enjoyed it and enjoyed it enough to record it on my tapes, my cassette tapes. But then it really, I grew into wanting to be on TV. Like that's how I thought growing up. I was like, oh, I want to be on TV. Like I want to be on ESPN, and I want to do the Stuart Scott route. I want to talk sports and make up words. And RIP to the legend. Um, but yeah, I wanted to be on TV, and then I was in all the school plays. I was in all that kind of stuff, extrovert activities. I loved like making people laugh and trying to be the center of attention and things like that. When I got to college, thinking going in freshman year, wanting to be on TV, thinking I was going to go this TV video route. The first class they had us take was an audio class. So Adobe Audition, you go down to the radio station, you do a little audio project. Like we went through the whole, like the basics. And I was like, man, this is fun. I learned our school had a campus radio station. I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Started learning more about like the radio station, how your creativity was just kind of, you could do what you wanted. You could have your own show. You could play whatever you wanted to play or whatever the system was. And I had some upperclassmen friends that were on the video TV route. And I was like, that doesn't sound fun. Like what they're doing over there. I don't want to, hello, reporting live from this accident behind me. Like this isn't really, it's not really my thing. Like, I don't know if I want to do that structured in that way.
Sure.
So I got involved like heavy on the campus radio station and started producing for a friend of mine, his sports show. So I was still kind of in that sports area, but I was like, what about sports radio? And started off like that. And then it just kind of grew into like this huge love for just the possibilities, the creativity. It was just like, I can do whatever I want. Like, this is nuts. I just felt like I was having so much fun, and grew into like a couple of leadership roles at the campus radio station. Found an internship this is 2012.
Okay.
And I found an internship at a radio station locally in Roanoke, Virginia. And so I applied for the internship, did all the stuff, sent my application in the mail. Like,
Wow.
now thinking back, I'm like, why was I doing that? Why didn't I just email it? But sent it all in the mail, and I was super interested. They got in touch with me. I did my internship that summer, and from day one, I was like, this is professional radio. Wow. Like I'm doing this. This is what I want to do. And that internship, it did nothing but intensify like those feelings. I was like, this is definitely what I want to do. Because
Was it like promotions internship or on air?
it was mainly promotions.
Okay.
I got to sit in on like the morning show for the CHR and things like that, but it was mostly like promotions. I wasn't doing too much talking on air. They weren't trying to let us do that. But just being around and learning and talking with these people that have been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years, I was just truly like inspired and stuff. So internships, I felt like from there on, I learned that internships can either solidify, like, this is what I want to do, or they can be like, nope, I need to change my degree. I need to fix whatever. So I loved it. Went back to campus radio station on college for my super senior year. And I was like, this is what I'm doing. Like, I'm so excited. I got all these ideas. I want to do all this stuff. And then from there, I just kept my foot in the door at that radio station. PartTime Promotions, you know the drill. So yeah, that PartTime Promotions grind, driving the station van, setting up the tent, like doing all of that. And I lived an hour away from the radio station. And this is how I know I heard like Charlemagne the God say this a long time ago. You have to recognize an opportunity even when there's not a paycheck attached to it. So I was driving like an hour to the radio station to pick up the vans, a lot of times to drive an hour back for the event or for the concert or whatever. So it was like this one boom, boom, boom type trip. And but I loved it. It was like, I'm working for a radio station. This for, for
It was fun driving that van around, right?
$8 an hour,
Yeah. I did the exact same shit. Yeah.
It was great. Yeah. So I just did it, and I lived it up and had fun. So that part-time grind, working promotions, waiting and hoping for an on-air position to open up. Because like I said, all these people had been there for all that entire cluster, country, news talk, CHR, hot AC, urban AC. They had all been there for years. Nobody was going anywhere. So I was just like, I'll just hold out hope. So I graduated college already having like a year of part-time radio work under my belt, and started applying to jobs all over the place. Sirius, radio stations in DC, everywhere, anywhere I could send a little crappy college kid demo to, at least what I thought was crappy. And so nothing was hitting. I was just like, well, I'll just hang out here. I'll work 2 jobs. I work at the shoe store and I work at the radio station. I worked at Radio Shack for like a few months, anything to just stay in the area and keep my foot in the door at the station. So when something did pop up, top of mind, Freddy Mac over here.
Yeah.
So eventually it happened after 2 or 3 years, probably. Somebody finally left, things shifted around, and I actually started in sales, which was awful for me and for the company. But it was awful for the company because I was terrible at it. But it was a full-time position, and I was voice tracking the night show on the CHR station. So I was like, at least I get to be on the air.
Sure.
So I did that for a year. I had 1 client. I sold 2 remotes for the same client.
Did you get to be your own talent at the remote?
No, I didn't. I was pissed. I can't even be like reporting live. I didn't even know what I was going to say. I was that green. Wow. But yeah, so I started in sales, and it was awful. And it was a whole year of that. I don't know how they didn't fire me, because I don't feel like I had 1 billing client. It was a furniture store that had an ad agency. It was the whole thing.
Did they give you a base salary at least, or do you have to do it all?
That was the only way I made it. That was the only way, Marie, that I was able to survive, was because I had a base salary and I wasn't like 100% commission. Thank God.
Yeah, because thank
God.
Fuck that.
It would have been terrible had it not been that type of structure for me. Like all the other sales ladies, sales guys, they had been doing it for years. They were pros. They commissioned. They know this stuff. Thank God I started out that way, because I didn't know anything. So, so yeah, I did that for a year, and the midday girl / imaging girl for the CHR, she left and just got out of radio for whatever reason. She wanted to do something else. And top of mind, you're like, Freddy Mac's been hanging around for a long time. Like, we'll give him a shot. So I moved from the night show in sales to middays, and I did all the imaging for the whole station.
Oh, okay.
So that was dope. I was like, this is the dream.
Yeah.
I'm on air right now.
You didn't have to do sales anymore.
No more sales, no more worrying about what are the rates. You know what I mean? That was awful. So I was on the air finally, and I was doing imaging for the whole station and the morning show. I was like the morning show's producer, essentially. So it was kind of 3 jobs in one, but
of course,
you get used to it like really fast.
That's radio, right?
Wearing all the hats. Yeah. So that happened for a year, and next thing you know, somebody from the morning show was leaving. So they called me up to move to the morning show. And I was just like, hell yeah, I'll be on the morning show and then continue to do all the imaging. I don't have to go back to sales. Like, I'm making all right money for however old I was at the time. And so I did that. And then I was on the morning show for 2 years. And then I was ready for kind of a change. I felt like I kind of hit a ceiling. And I was like, well, I want to do something else. And right around that time, again, this is nothing I thought would ever happen. The midday girl who took over for middays after me was also the promotions director. So she was leaving, going to another station. And I was like, well, I could try out promotions. I've done everything in the building except engineering. So I was like, let me give this a shot. Give this a shot. So I can move back to middays, sleep in a little bit, and still do all the promotion stuff that I felt like I kind of grew from the ground up. So did middays for a year, maybe 2. And
Okay.
then that was when I found my next opportunity. So I was like, after I left the morning show, a couple months had passed, and I was like, yeah, I think I want to get back to the big city. Growing up in Maryland, like outside of DC, you know, it's big city, big market. That was something I'd been used to where I was at. It was market 119, small and a great place to hone my skills and to learn and to network and, you know, learn all these cool things. So I was glad I was able to do that. But then that's when I found my new opportunity where I'm at now in Cincinnati.
Before that, did they put you on a morning show by yourself or were you with a co-host?
I had two co-hosts and I was
Oh.
really like the third mic. So
Oh, okay.
I was still doing all the imaging for the station, all the production for the morning show. And I was kind of the third mic. So I was like low man on the totem pole, you know. It's a part of the gig. You earn your stripes. That was cool. Yeah, no, I don't at that point I couldn't have done a morning show by myself. No.
Because you're in the afternoon,
Yeah.
right? Like doing
Yeah.
a show, but in the afternoon, like a morning show, but in the afternoon.
It's like a morning show in the afternoon. Yeah, I have a co-host to just her and I, and we have a blast. You know, we have fun.
Was that like did you apply for that, or did they come to you and say, "Hey, we have this idea"?
I applied for it. Let me tell that story too, because I saw that opening. The way it all kind of went down. This was 2020. So we all know what happened in 2020. December 2019, January 2020, I had applied for another job somewhere else. And they offered me the job, but they offered me a different day part than what I was applying for. And I didn't want to make a lateral move. So I was like, nah, I'll just stay put. I've declined the job offer. Thanks, but no thanks. And I kind of hit this few months of this depression, right? I was riding a high of feeling like I'm doing something right. People are interested. They want me. And mind you, I kind of left out the other part, which was a couple of years of applying for jobs, getting ghosted, not hearing anything back. So I'm riding this high of like, oh, they want me to email them back. They want to talk. They wanted this, they wanted that, and then not hearing anything.
And it's like dating, so it like messes with your head, you know,
Oh
and
my
your
gosh, you hit
confidence.
this low. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Confidence took a big hit. I'm like, I thought I was just gonna hopefully ride this high for as long as I possibly could, and then you just fall off. You know, that high you're riding just falls off, and you hit this like weird depression feeling, creative low. And so this job in late 2019, early 2020, I declined. And then I'm riding this high of like, again, I'm good. People want me. I'm doing something right. Right. And I hit this low. And then a few months after that, find out I was going to have a son. I was going to have a baby. I didn't know at the time, but I found out I was going to have a son. So I just thought, okay, well, let me put on hold seeking out another radio opportunity, job opportunity, and just stay put where I'm at, hone in on my skills, get better, network more, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm about to have a baby. So we actually put in an offer on a house. Didn't get the house. The guy didn't accept our offer. And this was maybe 4 or 5 months after the last job opportunity. So I was like, you know what? I hadn't looked at job postings in a while. I got on there and I saw Q102 and I was like, WKRQ. I sat back in my chair. I was like, no way. No way. And you know, being in the business, you know, you hear about these heritage legendary stations. And I was on a heritage CHR in Roanoke, Virginia. So I was like, no way I get this job. There's no way they're even hiring and they want somebody right like me. And I'm on this low, this thinking like I'm not good enough kind of mindset.
Yeah.
So I applied for the job, fixed up my demo, added some new things in, some 2020 relevant breaks, and, you know, updated it and mailed my stuff off. And then a week or so later, I got an email back from my now boss in PD. And I saw it pop on my phone. I'm walking through the hallway and I was like, almost threw up and almost my phone walking through the lobby. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
And she wanted to have a conversation. She had looked through and listened to a bunch of demos. And she was like, I keep coming back to yours. And I was just like, oh my God, this is it. So that's how I ended up in the position I'm in now. The job posting it was nothing that made me mad. It didn't have anything about this is a co-host position. We already have somebody we want to partner you with. It had nothing to do with that. So when I learned that after our first phone conversation, I was like, oh yeah, great. Cause I love working in teams. I'm an extrovert. Like, please bring all the people, right?
Sure.
You know, get me in a group. I'm glad about that. So that's when I learned that, and you know, eventually FaceTimed my soon-to-be partner or potential partner, I guess, at the time, and we had this immediate chemistry. You know, there's just like the jokes were going and just talking about how I am as a person on the radio, like what I like to do, philosophies and whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, they flew us up, had the couple day interview and trial run of like a little voice track show. And then that was history. That other company that was going to hire me, but hire me for a different day part than what I was applying for. They what would have been for me, not that they knew this, it would have been a lateral move. There was a lot of like downtime in between me going for the in-person interview and getting a call back to like say whether or not I was getting a job or not, offering me the job, whatever. It was probably close to a month and a half. And I called her and emailed to check, and he was like, yeah, we're still working things out. You know, don't worry, we'll be in touch. We really liked you. Really. And I was just hanging in there, and I'm just like, okay, you know, kind of like dating, right? You're just like, well, they say they like me, so I don't know. It turned out to be, I was like, you know what? After all of that, I contributed. I took that into account, just the lack of communication, the unorganized way it seemed like they were handling their business. And then also just the feeling they offered me this job that I didn't really want. And they said, we need to know by tomorrow. I'm like, whoa, you want me to move? You want me to move my life? I got a baby on the way. You want me to move my life 7 hours away? And you want me to let you know within 24 hours when this whole, y'all been pulling me around for a month and a half, you know?
These radio companies, it's insane watching their hiring process. It really is.
Yeah, it was a lot that went into it. Now that I'm thinking about it, it was a lot. It was just like they were offering me, ironically, I was asking for some money, right? They were paying me they were offering me what I wanted, but it just didn't feel right. All of those factors of just the communication, the disorganization, and just the feeling.
That's a good first impression. You know, if they're not being organized with you, not being the best communicators, you're like, how do they operate when I work there?
And no judgment. I mean, hey, I hope the best for them. They seem like they're doing pretty great. So good for them. I just felt like it wasn't for me. I had a lot on my shoulders at that time. You know, I'm expecting a baby, you know, I got a kid on the way. So there's a lot of responsibility going in this, and moving your life is not a joke. It's not something you can do. Not when you're married and with a baby on the way. Maybe it's a little different when you're single, right? You can just up and bounce. That wasn't the position I was in. So I'm glad I held out on that and went with my gut and my instincts on that. And I didn't know what was around the corner for me like 8-9 months later. This opportunity I'm in now. So
I bet you're glad you held out then.
Oh, 1000%. Yeah. And I'm also thankful for that experience. I'm thankful for all the experiences. I'm thankful for all those jobs all those PDs that ghosted me for whatever the reason. It was all a learning experience. I needed that. And now I know, not that I'm looking for anything, I know how to go forward, and I've had some experiences to compare.
I think I was talking about that with somebody on here that if your ride is just smooth through radio, then you're doing it wrong.
I heard some sayings, and I kind of half agree with this one, but it was like there's no L's in life. There's only lessons learned. A lot of those were L's because I felt like you feel so shitty. But I was like, at the end of the day, looking back now, I'm grateful for those experiences. I'm grateful for the little bit of networking that I did. Maybe they'll remember my name one day, or maybe we can work together, or maybe it works out. But all that made me into, who I am now. And I hope to continue to build off of that and continue to learn and network and experience things, good and bad. We need them both. Just as human beings, we need it all. So especially in the job market, man, especially in the radio job market, media. It's a different type of lesson learned.
It really is. Since you're getting to do like a show, but in the afternoon, do you actually prefer that? Because I know some people are like, man, fuck getting up at 3 a.m. to go to the morning show.
Those 2 years I did mornings, you never really get used to it. You just you feel less sick. My first 3 months doing mornings was like, I'm a night owl too, so it was rough. Get up at 4:30. And I know there's morning people that get up way earlier than that, but I was like 4:30. I lived 5 minutes from the station too, so that helped me out. But man, I felt so sick to my stomach the first few months. But then you get into it a little bit. So you feel a little less sick. Your body's still like, what the F are you doing? But you get used to it. But now doing afternoons, I certainly could go back to mornings. Again, an experience that I know that I can do it now, especially with that hectic schedule. But doing afternoons is like chef's kiss, because I can stay up late. I can still sleep in a little bit, even with a baby, even with a 1-year-old. I can sleep in a little bit and still get like 6-7 hours, right? And feel good. It's perfect for where I'm at right now. But the morning thing, I would love the opportunity to do that again.
Do you say that like because like the morning show is typically the one that the station's getting the most support and all that?
I think that became my new dream. Once I wanted to be in radio, I did that internship, and I interned so much with morning radio. I was like, this is what that became my dream, morning radio. And it took a little bit to get there, and then I did that. And so I just know what that's like. I think the station support, like everything goes through the morning show, all that stuff is a plus for me. You know, I think that's dope. But I think morning radio is morning and afternoons. I don't really know now. Now that I'm thinking about it, but they're both like obviously incredibly important to your station.
Yeah,
but, morning radio is just different. I don't know. It's the very beginning of the day. Sometimes the end of the day, depending on which shift you work as a listener, but it's a very crucial part of the day, the beginning. Something about that for me that I just love being a part of. And like in my situation, we feel that support. It's certainly, you know, the morning show gets that love, but our afternoon show, especially because it's a double team afternoon show, we're in a good little seat here. You know, it feels good. The support is there.
Yeah. So you've been there since 2020. So like, almost 2 years now then?
Almost 2 years in September. 2022 will be 2 years. Yeah.
And how do you like Cincinnati?
I love it. It's getting back to what I feel are like my roots. Growing up in like a mid to large city, or working in a mid to large city now, mid to large market, it feels like home. It takes some adjusting, you know, like any new place. You're using the GPS to get everywhere. And I still do that almost 2 years in, but it feels like home. Always something going on, plenty to do, great place to raise kids, good school systems, all that kind of stuff I got to think about now.
Okay. Yeah, I know, right?
It's been amazing. Yeah, I never would have thought. And that's the thing too. Like Cincinnati wasn't like I want to work there one day. I wanted to go home, like to Maryland. At least that's what I thought at one point. But then Cincinnati came along, and I've fallen in love with the city. So it's been great. For right now, I'm just riding out and learning as much as I possibly can, trying to soak up as much as I can, in just experience and kind of being the anchor of a show and doing this for the first time, you know, on a tag team show. I'm trying to just learn as much as I possibly can. And then whatever the future holds, you know, if that's morning radio, that would be amazing. If that's morning radio in DC, who knows? We'll see. One day at a time, really. That's something I learned. And that's one of those lessons I learned, one step at a time, instead of trying to force it and see 6 months, 6 years ahead. Like it's nearly impossible to do that. There's so much right in front of you that you have to pay attention to.
Yeah, when people are like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm like, I don't know. It kind of just depends on what happens in the next 1 or 2.
Yeah, I grew up thinking at some point, I'm supposed to know that. What's your 5-year plan?
Yeah.
And I thought I was supposed to have one. Never had one, by the way. But I thought for so long, I'm supposed to have one. I'm so behind the times. I don't know what I'm doing. And who knows what's going on in 5 years?
I know.
In any area, any arena of your life. Like, I have no idea. I know a bunch of people who have been on the podcast, have been preaching this for years, you know, corporate, you know, pay people more and all that stuff is 1000% the truth. But give them something to pay for. Continue to. I don't want to sound like I'm, you know, coming for personalities or anything, but continue to give them something to pay you for. With our content, that's with our personality. Like, continue to be your authentic self, fellow radio peeps, and we're going to keep the listeners coming. And then the competition is always going to be there. It's no longer just the people across the street. It's Spotify, Apple Music, podcasts, everywhere else. Be all those places too, and give them that bomb content personality that you have. And hopefully the corporate people allow us to continue to do that. We got to keep embracing it. And I'm saying this too, not because I'm doing it perfectly myself or me and my team. Like, I feel like I'm preaching to myself.
Yeah.
I know that there's always more that can be done. We got to keep getting in their faces, keep getting on all the social platforms, keep doing more podcast episodes or whatever, on and off the mic. We got to do it all.
Uh-huh.
And that's okay. Like part of being in radio too is embracing that part of it. You got to work harder.
It's so
Period.
true. To the radio is dead conversation, to the people that, aren't in it and they're like, who listens to that? Like, I guess where do you kind of see the future in it?
People really do listen. You cannot get this from the live local radio. You cannot get that from a podcast or from Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora. They're not giving you what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like a couple of weeks ago, this is just one of those many examples, but these a group of people had robbed the Louis Vuitton store at the mall.
Okay.
And ran in there and just robbed the whole store, cleaned them out. And we were on it because we had TVs in the studio. We watching the news or whatever. So shout out to news, local TV news. They were on it too.
Yeah.
But you listen to your own music, your little crappy playlist you made in your car. Sorry. You ain't gonna find out like they're looking for the Nissan Altima. Sorry to the Nissan Altima people too. The one driving through traffic is like the car of criminals. We're just on top of those stories. That was a lofty example, but you don't get that anywhere else.
Yeah.
And that local news, weather, traffic, you're not really getting that in any of these other options. So competition is going to become much more fierce. There's going to become more and more places to get your music or get your entertainment, but radio's never going to die, man. I feel like we'll be here forever. We started the way we started, and we're going strong. I think we're only going to get better too if we embrace it. I think it's a choice, and if radio is going to be dead, it's going to be because we allowed it to be that way, not because people aren't listening, not because the people aren't there. So that's important to just realize and keep kind of in the back of your mind. Radio being dead is a choice.